Thank you everyone for being here. So we're in the second day of our exploration and practice in taking a soulful seat at the table, mindful liberation for Seder night and beyond. So here we are gathering around our Zoom Seder table together. Let's begin by arriving on purpose, arriving into this moment. So I invite you to come into a posture that's supported by the chair or cushion or floor that's holding you. And see if maybe you can release a little more weight into the support of this surface. It's an allowing, letting your body be supported. And in balance with this, also come into a posture that's supported by the bones and muscles of your body, supported from within. So the spine can grow long and tall without straining. The crown of the head is shining upward, and the chin can be just a little bit tucked or lowered so the neck can be soft. You can let the face relax, releasing the social face you might be wearing, to let the undomesticated face come through. Choose a home base in the body for your attention. It could be in a place in the body where you feel the breath moving. It could be sensations of the soles of the feet meeting the floor, or the palms resting in the lap. Or it could be sound arising and passing. Home base for your attention. Let all that's present be met with the generosity of welcoming, just as it is. As I share some teaching, you're welcome to stay in practice. So you can keep your eyes closed or your gaze soft, your attention turned toward your inner experience. And what I offer can drop into this landscape. The Mishnah teaches that when we tell the story of the Exodus from Mitzrayim, from ancient Egypt, on Seder night, we matchil bignut u'misayem b'shevach. We begin with degradation and we end with praise. I find it really striking that other holidays that also share stories of oppression and salvation don't ritualize the experience of the oppression. You know, the grief, the pain, the fear, the anger. On Hanukkah, we don't linger in the suffering under Achashverosh and his empire. We just light the Hanukkah candles. And we're inside the miracle and the joy. And on Purim, we tell the whole story of our near annihilation by Haman, but we already engage with it from the place of power and victory. So we boo Haman and we make a farce of the whole story. But on Pesach, the rituals of the Seder serve as a practice in experiencing the movement through constriction into liberation. Not as symbols, not as history, but as a way to directly explore and come into knowing the places of Meitzar. From the same root as Mitzrayim, Egypt, the Meitzar, the places of constriction and contraction within. And to engage in practice as a pathway to loosen and free the constriction that's become locked within us. We learn and feel constriction in order to learn and feel liberation. So today we're exploring Karpas, the moment toward the beginning of the Seder when we take a vegetable, usually a green like parsley or celery, and we dip it in salt water. Of course, in thoroughly Jewish style, there are many different meanings and reasons for every food and every ritual. And I want to turn to Karpas as an embodiment of spring. Pesach is also called Chag HaAviv, the festival of spring, and the salt water as embodying tears, grief. I want to teach about these two qualities and then have us practice with them. So the Talmud in Brachot teaches, one who goes out in the month of Nisan, which is the Hebrew month that we're in right now, with Pesach falling right in the middle of Nisan. So one who goes out in the month of Nisan and sees trees that are blossoming recites this blessing. Baruch shelo chiser be'olamo klum. Blessed is the one who withholds nothing from the world. Uvara vriot tovot ve'ilanot tovot, who created good, beautiful creations, good, beautiful trees. Lehitnaot bahen bnei adam, in order to provide pleasure to humanity. What a stunning blessing. So we're called upon to notice the blossoms and new growth of spring, and to see life that is tender and strong and colorful, renewed, and it guides us to know the world as lacking nothing, as whole and perfect as it is, to know creation as good and beautiful, and as divinely designed for human pleasure. Pleasure and aliveness hand in hand. So we pick up the Karpas, this embodiment of spring, beauty, goodness, pleasure, divine vitality. And with it, through it, we touch into sadness. We touch heartbreak. We include into this fullness of being alive the experience of grieving. In our lives, there are so many ways that we may have learned to reject and hate sadness. Because maybe we got the message that sadness is a sign of weakness, that it's pathetic. Or maybe we learned to turn away from it. because we learned that it was overwhelming or dangerous or too much or out of control. Or maybe we learned to collapse into it because we learned that if we showed sadness, we could get the comfort and attention that we needed. And of course, there may be many other ways in which our relationship with sadness, grief, heartbreak, loss may have been distorted, severed, buried, so that it became an inner meitzar, a place of contraction from our beautiful, whole, wise selves. So the moment of Karpas at the Seder is inviting us to reclaim a whole and full relationship with our sadness, held by the vitality and pleasure of sacred aliveness. So let's explore this in our experience. Let's start with the blossoms. Call to mind any signs of spring that you've noticed. I have some here in my office, some yellow flowers and an orchid that's about to bloom. And where I am in Toronto, I've been seeing crocuses, yellow and purple, and those snowdrops, white, delicate. Stems of tulips and daffodils that are just emerging. I've seen small buds on trees, sort of tiny fingers of leaves that are just beginning to unfurl. Can you call to mind what images you have seen or what images are conjured in your mind? Blossoming aliveness and beauty. And let them awaken sensation within. Maybe a sense of wonder, delight, pleasure. And with the truth that you too are part of this good and beautiful creation, what does aliveness feel like in you in this moment? What can you sense? Can you let awareness shine on the sensations of vitality in your body and being? Where in the body do you notice pleasure? A sense of delight? The Hasidic Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl, the Maor Einayim, teaches that when we bring attention to our aliveness, we can stir curiosity and ask, who is this aliveness that I am? What a beautiful question. Who is this aliveness that I am? Is it not the Holy Blessed One? Perhaps you can meet the aliveness that you are as divinity, as the same sacred aliveness in flowers, in trees, shared by all beings. A field of divine vitality shared by all life. Can you let your whole being be bathed in this wondrous divine vitality? Resting into its strength, resting into its pleasure, its goodness. Intimately within you and vastly, expansively beyond you. Now, into this field of divine vitality, I invite you to see what sadness might be present that can be included here. I encourage you not to call up the most difficult grief, but perhaps to make room for and invite some quality of sadness or heartbreak that might be close to the surface. There might be a specific moment or person that comes to mind, or there might just be sensations that arise with this question. What sadness is here that can be included? Let whatever arises be included and held in the embrace of the field of sacred aliveness. And to be present with what arises. As we stay with this quality, I want to remind you that you're in choice. So if at any point you become overwhelmed or flooded by feelings that are dysregulating, if this exploration takes you into an experience that's not right for you or not right for this moment, you can always stop. You can turn your attention outward to your surroundings or to sensations in the body that are pleasant or neutral. And if you want, you can put a hand at your heart. As we continue to stir the question, what sadness or grief can be invited here? Notice and meet sensations in the body. If a story takes hold of your attention, just bring your awareness back to the body, to the direct experience of sensations as they arise, as we touch into sadness. And if you notice resistance arising, or aversion, or judgment, see if you can include them too. Welcome them in to be held in the wide embrace of divine vitality. No need to fight against any of it. What sadness or heartbreak can be included here into the field of divine vitality, felt right here in your breath and heartbeat. In his book, The Gate of Tears, Sadness in the Spiritual Path, J. Michelson writes, when the desire to banish sadness is released, sadness cohabits with joy and gives birth to holiness. More moments merit being named as divine. After surrendering the fight to stay afloat, I drown, but I find that I can breathe underwater. Here we are. This is what is happening. It is not wrong or right, but whole and broken and sacred. May we know our sadness as participating in the sadness of all beings. May we know our sacred aliveness as participating in the sacred aliveness shared by all beings. B'chol dor vador, in every generation, anu chayavim lirot et atzmenu, we're called upon to make a commitment to see ourselves ki'ilu yotzim min hamesar, as if we're moving out of the narrows. B'chol dor vador, anu chayavim lirot et atzmenu כאילו יוצאים מן המצר. בכל דור ודור אנו חייבים לראות את עצמנו כאילו יוצאים min hamitzah. לראות את עצמנו כאילו יוצאים מן המצר בכל דור ודור. אנו חייבים לראות את עצמנו כאילו יוצאים מן המצר. לראות את עצמנו כאילו יוצאים מן המצר. May our practice today be for healing and liberation for ourselves and for the healing and liberation of all beings. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you, Miriam. We'll have a few minutes to have some conversation and reflect on the practice just now and share any questions. We'll do that in a moment. First, as is our custom, if you are saying Kaddish for someone, remembering someone today, we invite you to put their name in the chat if you feel so moved. And we'll put the text of Kaddish, the traditional prayer for morning, up on the screen. And a way of dedicating our practice and our study today to the memory of these loved ones. You're welcome to unmute and join me in reciting Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shnei
Amen.
rach v'tev v'mitzvah v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei kol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbi Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzahar v'yitzchanan v'yitzasei Yitzhadar v'yitpaleh v'yitzhal shmei Yisha v'ela mikol dirchata shirata v'shbachata v'nechemata an v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru
Amen.
Shalom Bimrolam, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Yisrael Yehudu Yoshei Level. Amen.
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 Thank you again. If you need to leave us, farewell. Hope you can come back tomorrow for the next installment or whenever you can join us. Of course, you're always welcome to watch, experience, join these practices on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and you can share them with other people from there. So wonderful. So Miriam, let's bring Miriam back. Here we go. Miriam's going to come back. Oh, look at that. See? Woo. Miriam, thank you so much for that really wonderful practice and the holding the sprouting and happiness and joy with the sadness and being present with all of it. You know, I think that's not something that I feel like we give all that much voice to at Pesach oftentimes, and yet it also is sort of naturally there. I mean, especially for those of us who have loved ones who we may have grown up spending the holiday with, or we associate with, and then their absence, you know, when it comes around, we sort of really feel their absence. And I wonder, I'd be curious to know what sort of led you, you know, for today, like in this direction of that aspect of lifting up that aspect of, you know, preparation for Pesach. Really be curious. And I also want to invite folks to share any questions that you have in the chat or anything that came up for you. That there's always a lively discussion in the chat, but I'll lead us off with that question.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. As I was preparing for this this week-long series, I was noticing that so many of the rituals and moments when we eat things in particular, which I think is really interesting, are engaging some aspect of connection with difficult emotion. So in the coming days, we'll be looking at connection with pain, connection with fear, connection with anger. And in each of those instances, we're invited to have that difficult emotion partner with that which is stable and expansive, divine awareness. And so this is the moment of sadness. I shared yesterday, and I'm happy to kind of share again and kind of expand on it, that when I think about what is the meitzal, what is the inner constriction, there are so many ways in which our emotional lives have been gripped and collapsed and distorted and severed, and that those have become strategies of meeting ourselves and the world. And in my experience, those have been shaped by very real experiences of hurt and fear. And so we developed brilliant strategies to navigate and survive. Thank God, so brilliant. And at the same time, they've become calcified. And when we're living from those wounded, constricted places, we cause a great deal of harm to ourselves and to others. And there's practice that enables us to come into intimate relationship with knowing those wounded places, and welcoming them in rather than fighting against them, so that we start to have some space to make choice, to heal. And that's when we're able to relate to ourselves with more wisdom and compassion and insight. And we can bring that out into the world, in our relationships, in our work, in the work for justice. And so that relationship between the inner and outer is essential. And so here we are, beginning in sadness and grief and disappointment and loss, and learning to relate to it with more agility and presence and welcoming.
Thank you. Lovely comments coming in, and there's a question from Laura, who's always good with asking great questions. Question of, would you describe or offer suggestions as to how one can let awareness shine on sensations of vitality, and also how one probes the question, who is this aliveness that I am?
Oh, great. So
We're
first
set
of
for the
all,
next, we're set for the next 15 minutes. We're good.
right. Maybe I'll start with the latter. I love this this teaching by Rabbi Menachem Nachum of Chernobyl, holding it as a question, like, what beautiful inquiry. What is this aliveness that I am? To just hold and let that question resonate, and not try to think the answer. I think right there we encounter, well, I didn't create myself, that I know for sure. What is this? Who is this aliveness I am? And what does it feel like, this aliveness that I am? And to keep probing, what is it? What is it? I find that I just keep encountering mystery, wonder, gratitude, a sense of the sublime. So I'm curious to offer that and see what you discover. It really is about bringing it into your own experience. And now I've forgotten the first part of the question. Can you
The
remind
first
me?
part of the question was suggestions about how to let awareness shine on sensations of vitality.
Mm. In a way, it's one and the same, sort of to turn attention toward, how do I feel vitality in my body, in my being? Awareness itself is inherently radiant. It's like shining a light on your experience. There really isn't anything else to do other than notice when my mind's distracted and goes off somewhere else, and then coming back into attention turned lovingly and without judgment toward, how do I feel vitality? What does vitality feel like in my body, in sensations, in breath, in heartbeat?
I mean, it also opens up under this other question here from Lori, who shares that she's sick with a respiratory infection. Lori, hope you get well soon. And through today's practice, realize that it is grief in my lungs. How do we embody divine vitality to heal embodied grief that shows up as illness? It's a wonderful question.
Wonderful question, and a big question. I think the starting place is loving awareness. We keep coming back to loving awareness.
Yeah.
So here is illness. This is what is. We wouldn't have chosen it. We may not want it, but the fight against it creates more suffering. So first, can you meet what is so tenderly and lovingly? And to notice what experiences arise in that. So if grief is emerging as you touch the physical sensations of this infection, this tightness or discomfort or pain, can you be with the grief that arises? And now there's this, lovingly and tenderly, and held in that sacred aliveness, that this is all of what is part of your experience in this moment. And I wish you healing. Fuah Shlema.
Ricky has a wonderful question. Hi, Ricky. Here about how could we bring this into the Seder? It's like, Miriam, I'm sure you do this at your Seder. But this is such a powerful invitation into the emotional trajectory of the Seder. I want to say for the record, I'm not going to speak for Miriam, and I think Miriam's mother is on the call today. But hi, Miriam's mom. Nice wave, thank you. But I just to pull back the curtain. I won't speak for everybody else. I'll speak for myself. We may teach this stuff here, but just like with everybody else, we got families that are totally normal, and like pulling this sort of thing off at the Seder. Don't get any misconceptions that like you need to be among a group of people that really want to engage in this kind of practice in order to do a Seder this way. And nobody should be judging themselves. I want to give permission. Your Seder is going to look the way your Seder is going to look, and it's going to be great no matter how it is. So I just want to like say that. And with that in mind, I wonder about, this is Ricky's very important question. This is such a powerful invitation into the emotional trajectory of the Seder, and so different from the starting place of others at the table. Have you written this invitation in a paragraph that could be read aloud, or could you do so, please? It is your very wisdom energy that propels it, but perhaps we could channel that for our families and friends. The Miriam Margles Haggadah.
Coming to a spiritual bookstore near you. Well, a few things. One, I want to say that this is such a beautiful opportunity in preparation for Seder night. So this is for us, each of us who's decided to come here in practice, and anybody you might want to share this with, to prepare ourselves, to explore and see what are the qualities and experiences that I want to inhabit when I sit down at the Seder table. Whether that's shared by everyone around the table or not, that I want to show up with more aliveness, more honesty and authenticity, so that whatever I do say or share, how I participate, is deeply shaped by that learning and exploration. What else do I want to say? I would invite you, if you would like to, if the group that you're at a Seder with allows, there can just be the question that's offered, the intention. Here we are at Karpas. This is a moment when we are invited to touch into sadness held by vitality. And maybe people want to share what's one aspect of grief or sadness for myself, for the world, for others, that I want to bring awareness of into our gathering together. That can be enough. And finally, I would say that I created a text sheet that has the quote from J. Michelson and a few other pieces about pleasure and vitality. So feel free to bring that to your Seder table. It will be attached on the YouTube link. So you can feel free to read that at your Seder and see what exploration might unfold.
I wanted to second what you just said, Miriam, is that a lot of times, like one of the things that the Haggadah can do, or any of these tools can do, is just be a third thing. It can be an object that allows a conversation then to emerge, and you could even model that, something that's causing me grief, as we're breaking the matzah or whenever it is, right, at this moment of beginning and lowness, can bringing your own voice into that. So, and just the willingness to make yourself a little bit vulnerable sometimes can actually have amazing ripple effects within at a Seder table. There's so much good stuff on this in the chat, which is really great. I think we're also getting a lot of good encouragement, Miriam, to write a Haggadah. So who knows? IGS Haggadah, not a crazy idea. Yeah, there's a lot here. Thankfully, Miriam is back tomorrow, and we can keep going with this. But it is the bottom of the hour. And I know everybody here has other things that we've all got to be doing as well. But thank you, everybody, for such a lively, wonderful practice. And thank you, Miriam. And I hope to see you back here tomorrow or whenever you can join us again.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Jet, for holding the tech pieces.
Right.